to the Renegade Ventures podcast. Thank you for being with us. We've been trying some new things with the show and wanting to make sure that you're getting the most value out of it, but also allowing you to hear a little bit more about what's been going on in Maggie and I's lives and our businesses. And so we're going to start with actually talking a little bit about
life.
Us as human beings, as whole human beings. Sometimes it might be business. Sometimes it might be completely not. Sometimes it might relate to the topic of the day. Sometimes not. But earlier, Maggie and I were having a conversation about general health because we've been having some, I would call health entrepreneurs on.
Normal midlife entrepreneurial stuff.
Yeah.
Pain, body pains. And I was telling a story about my husband mentioned a story from a friend who gave up sugar, refined sugar, because of knee pain. And I have chronic knee pain. I play tennis and I hobble around. It's arthritis. And I was like, what? He said, yeah, his knee pain went away when he stopped eating sugar. And I know sugar's not good for me. And I know refined flour and all the things that turn into sugar in our bodies. But I love sugar.
Yeah.
I mean, in my pantry and in my office, there is always candy. There is 100%. I could probably pull out 15 boxes of movie candy. So what is the candy?
The movie candy?
Movie candy.
Okay.
So Milk Duds.
So like crappy candy.
Jujubes. Oh, the worst. The worst candies. The worst candies are my candy. Even sugar, even those like circus peanuts, I will eat circus peanuts, which if you don't know what circus peanuts are.
What is it? I don't know what a circus peanut is.
It's like a marshmallow the size of a big, like that big.
Oh, okay.
And it's shaped like a peanut and it's kind of chewy. And
is it peanut butter flavored?
No,
or is it just in the shape of a peanut?
They come in like fruity flavors for some reason. They don't.
You know
come
what my
peanut butter
favorite
flavored.
candy is right now? Nerds clusters.
Okay, this is a thing. Adults are addicted to these clusters, these Nerds clusters. Like I know so many adults who carry, like if they travel, they carry a bag of those. Like it's just a thing among
what
adults.
What have they done to make us as adults
They
addicted?
Struck a perfect balance between that chewy, gummy center and then all those little crunchy bits on it, the sour and the sweet. It is truly a genius candy. But I'm cutting candy out of my life for a while to see if it reduces
I'm
my
not
knee
helping
pain.
you being like, guess what candy I
know,
love.
I'm like literally like, yes, let's talk about Nerd clusters. I'll drool.
So how many days have you been candyless?
Candy free since Monday. So it's been 5 days.
Have you noticed any knee pain change?
Well, I have had less knee pain. So
okay.
I'm going to have to put it to test. I have a tennis match this weekend. So I'll let you know. I'll report back on whether that pain-free situation continues.
I've not been, I've had to sit out of playing volleyball recently because I've been hurting my back, and I hurt my back in college, and I've been dealing with some pain. And earlier I got to rub on some of that 502 hemp balm. I don't know what it's called.
CBD balm.
Yeah, and I actually think it's helping. I didn't know if it would or not, but I really do. But I don't know that I have the self-control to cut out candy to help my back.
Well, we'll see how long I can last.
We'll let you experiment, and then you can report back.
Yeah, will the psychic pain be worse than the knee pain?
Yeah.
So, talking about wellness.
Yes.
Perfect introduction to our next guest. Welcome, Tiffany.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
I'm so excited to have you and talk about your wellness entrepreneurial journey. So, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and your genesis story that brought you to being an entrepreneur and like what we like to call a renegade?
Yeah. So I always knew that I wanted to do something more outside of corporate world. I've made most of my career being in leadership roles, executive roles, in startup environments, high growth, hyperscale. So I love that scrappy entrepreneurial spirit. Most of my friends are entrepreneurs, so I was surrounded by it. And then I just didn't know what I wanted to do. So you can't really start a business without knowing what you want to do.
Been there. I feel that so hard. I was you, and I was like, I want a business of my own, but what is it gonna do?
So I mean, always in the back of my mind, but kept plugging along. And then in 2020, February of 2020, Sometimes life just hits you, and sometimes it's figurative, and mine was literal. I got hit by a car walking across the street in Louisville. And that kind of changed my perspective on things when I realized, wait a minute, what am I waiting for? Like, what am I waiting for? This is, if, I could get hit by a car again, hopefully not, but now's sort of the time. So I really leaned in hard on thinking about, almost obsessively, what do I want to do? And I was an executive. And so I didn't have a lot of extra space, and I spent a lot of time in holistic spaces to just disconnect. The Louisville Salt Cave happened to be one of those spaces. So about a year and a half later, I called my husband. I will never forget this. On the way home, I had this like light bulb moment, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to start a wellness space, and I want it to be out in Oldham County where I live, which is outside of Louisville. And I want it to be a place for people like me, other busy executives, moms, wives that don't get a time to disconnect or step away, but also might have some things that they need to heal. So mine was physical. I had a lot of physical healing. I couldn't, do the normal Western medicine route. I'm an executive. I can't take pharmaceuticals to get through the day and deal with my pain. I had to find alternative solutions in order for me to function. And so I was like, this is what I want to do. So I went and, all my spare time. So I think it's worthy noting, I was also pursuing a master's degree at the same time, and I have 2 children. So I had 2 children, I had a master's degree I was pursuing, and I was an executive.
And then you got hit by a car?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I want to say something about this because this is a really, really salient point for, I think, anyone who's thinking about being a business owner, who is a business owner. There is no perfect time. There is no big gap. I mean, yes, occasionally people are like, oh, I got a sabbatical, or oh, I got injured and I had to lay in bed and I designed a business. But generally, it's happening in the chaos, in the storm of life, and putting it off is a mistake. And I just want to really emphasize that. It's very common.
Yeah, I almost feel like it's this entrepreneurial drive almost comes from that chaos a little bit, where you're like, okay, there has to be something different than what I'm doing right now. So let's figure that out. And I went in, I did research, I applied the concepts that I was learning in my master's program. I took all the things from, what I was doing as an executive. I actually intentionally took a step back in my professional career, and I went to a health technology company just to take a step back, so I had more space in my day to figure out what I wanted to do. And then just a couple years ago, I was sitting at my son's guitar lesson practice, and I saw a for-lease sign in a window. And I was like, you know what? Now's the time. Like, what am I waiting for? I've done all this plan. I've got business planning. I've done market research. I'm like, who cares that I'm busy? Like, now's the time.
When you want to get something done, you ask a busy woman. That's exactly right. We know how to execute, and we don't waste time, and we get it done.
Yeah, exactly. So I called the number. It didn't work out, but I found another space. And my husband had been working at GE for 14 years. And I was like, I can't quit my job, but I want to sign a lease on this place, and I want you to help me run it. It'll be my vision. I'm going to build it. I'm going to grow it. I'll be the CEO. I know how to be an executive, but I need you to be the operations person, like the day-to-day, the CFO, like accounting person. And he's like, yeah, that's great. I'm tired of going to the office every day. Let's do it.
Whoa, that's so cool. Like,
it was good. Yeah, it was incredible.
Very cool partnership in that, like, you were like, hey, I'm still going to be in charge. Will you go be my doer?
Right, exactly. Well, he knows I'm more of like the vision. Like, I can get a big vision out there. I can lead people. I can communicate really well what my strategy needs to be. But the day-to-day, like, operational pieces, it bores me.
I wonder we both have curly hair.
Yeah. I think it is with the hair, right?
And my husband's the same way. And it's just so powerful to have a partner like that. Mm-hmm. I think, you work with your husband, I work with my husband, you work with your husband. Ladies and gentlemen, pick your partner carefully.
Yes.
Pick your partner with thought, because that is either an anchor or a wing, depending on what you want to do with your life.
Ooh, I like that, anchor or wing. Okay, so you posed to him this question, or tell, I want to do this thing, but I need you to operate it. And he says, yes.
Yeah.
All right. So what, from that moment to when did you all, well, I guess there's actually middle that I know about, so I want to make sure I don't skim over it, but to when you opened your doors. Because there was more than one door.
There was. So we found a place. We signed a lease. It was May, a little over a year ago, May 2024. We signed a lease. So excited. And I am eating lunch one day, and I just happen to be scrolling on Facebook, and I see the Salt Cave was closing, the Louisville Salt Cave. It had been around since 2015. It was such an incredible part of my journey, and it was such an incredible part of the community. And
So you'd been there a lot.
I'd been there, and it's so beautiful. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to reach out and talk to the previous owner, Nicole, and ask her, you know, if she'd be interested in selling. And my husband's like, do we really want to do this? And I'm like, I mean, it's probably not advisable to buy a business and start a business at the same time. But, you know, whoever was successful if they didn't take big, bold risks. So like, you gotta have to play big, right? To win big. So fast forward to July 8th, and we closed on the Louisville Salt Cave. So in 6 weeks time, we turned around buying a business and still working through hiring general contractors, getting approval for the state to build out our other location. Well, we signed a lease. We couldn't back out of it, you know? So we're like, well, let's just do it. And we bought the Louisville Salt Cave. We were closed for 1 week, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but we're going to turn it around. We're going to open the doors. I had 2 employees, and I really heavily leaned on them to help me run it. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. So I need you to tell me, like, what are our products? Help me understand it. Like, help me understand the back end.
And sometimes that dead run is how you get things done. I mean, I think sometimes people get caught up in, is it perfect? Do I know exactly what I'm doing? Do I feel fully educated? I shouldn't do this. It's too risky. And sometimes when you just are like in a dead run, I'm going to do this and I'm just going to run.
I'm going to figure it out as I go. Yeah.
Yeah. And you do.
And I think for me, and I'll be interested to see if you agree or not, is I feel like the benefit of acquiring something that already existed was even as you were starting, like I've never even thought of that as being a benefit. I'm sure that there was like hard parts about it, but is that you at least had some sort of existing presence and people to tell you what they were doing beforehand. So you were building one and learning from the one that already existed at the same time.
Yeah. You know, in hindsight, it was definitely really difficult. And I don't know if I would recommend people having multiple locations at once straight out the gate, because it does make it harder. But what it did was it gave us an opportunity to learn from someone who had done it. And so we had the privilege, if you will, of learning from someone else's mistakes, because you're always going to make mistakes in business. Mm-hmm. Perfection is sort of the enemy of success, I always say. Mm-hmm. Like, if you can just run really fast and recognize you're going to fail sometimes, like that's how you move forward and create great things. And so it gave us an opportunity to hear from our clients, the people who had been going there on a regular basis. So my husband and I spent so much time in the store just talking to clients, even if we weren't working the desk. I worked the desk a lot because I feel, and I've always been a leader this way, I feel like I can't ask someone to do something that I haven't done myself. And so I think it's important that I stepped into that front desk space. Even though I'm an executive, mm-hmm. I would work my weekends at the Cave, and I still work the weekends at Crestwood sometimes, our Crestwood location. But we did that. We just talked to people. We just got an understanding. And it was not a perfect launch, I will tell you that. I mean, there were a lot of things we messed up, like ordering deadlines and like supply chain issues and like really recognizing what sells in retail and what doesn't. I mean, we still have things sitting on our shelves that we bought that we probably shouldn't have. And we got things that we didn't order enough of. That's just kind of part of it, right? You just learn.
You can't, I mean, when we bring in new employees and we want to train them in my sign company, I can't sit and like fire hose an employee on all the different things that we do and all the different products. And I think pain is the best teacher.
Yes.
And so like you make a mistake and you go, okay, let me back up. I'm not advocating don't get educated. I'm just saying I think that it's the fastest path to improving and getting better is trying something, doing it wrong, and backing up and trying it again.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So tell us a little bit, for the listener's sake, what is a Salt Cave? What is your business and business model? Is it purely retail? You know, is there subscriptions? Like, give us just a general overview of your business.
Sure. Well, I think it helps to start with what my vision was initially and how we've evolved and sort of learned. So my vision initially was just create a space for people to come and find something that helped them support their wellness journey. And that's whole body. So physical, mental, spiritual, whatever that is, just a space. And that is what my Crestwood space absolutely is. I mean, we have multiple practitioners that work there, anything from cranial sacral therapy. We've got a certified Ayurvedic practitioner. She's incredible, to someone who's doing somatic life coaching based massage to help you get to the root of, why your back might be hurting, right? And then the salt room is really designed to be a space to find pause and peace, but it has a physical benefit as well. It's halotherapy, which is the grinding of pharmaceutical grade salt into the air. When you breathe it in, it clears out your respiratory system. It's great for this area because we all have allergies, sinus issues, and it really takes care of all that in a natural way that you don't have to rely on pharmaceuticals for. And then we also have red light out there and near infrared, which is another emerging modality that people are using. And then you go to the salt cave, which is a very different space. It is beautifully built Himalayan salt walls. We've got salt on the floor. It's truly an escape from the life that we're living, the chaos of life. But it also provides the halotherapy. And then the space there, that's all we do. We do have red light and we do offer massage, but it's not like a regular practice. We have massage only once a week. We've got red light that's targeted. We have our own essential oil blends that we make. We have some retail products. We're actually now going to start soon. We just, by the end of the month, we'll start stepping into the space for nutritional wellness as well. It's something that we had a gap when we recognized all these clients come in and they're like, what kind of nutritional supplements can I take? Like, what can I do to help with inflammation naturally? What can I do to help with XYZ? And we're like, you know what? I take these supplements at home. I know about them. I've researched. Let's just add them. So we've partnered with a few other businesses that we're going to start launching those as well.
So interesting that you say that, because walking into this, most of the guests that we have on, Maggie and I know personally, and that is not the case here. And we were having this conversation about how much wellness and different types of services there are at this point, but they're kind of disjointed. You have to go here for your red light therapy, and there for your salt therapy, and there for your nutritional coaching. And I was saying, I just wish it was all under one roof, and it turns out it is. The next guest, the literal next guest is that is her vision.
You were reading that.
Apparently, I like your vision. But yeah, I have had my own health journey. Not a few years ago, I stopped. I have recurrent SIBO, small intestine bacteria overgrowth, and it was between kids. And I worked with a functional medicine doctor, and we cut out gluten and dairy and sugar and all kinds of different things, but we did take a lot of supplements, and I learned a lot. And so I was really interested in trying these different types of wellness products out, but I got overwhelmed quickly with the amount of learning, the amount of science, the amount of snake oil, and the amount that's really legit. How have you been able to encompass like some of that into your bigger vision and where you're at now? Because it sounds like you've been open for a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's one of the things, I get it, because I was the same. I have always been someone who's leaned into the holistic space just naturally. I have had some on and off like autoimmune issues that kind of forced me into that space in my early 20s. And so, but it's overwhelming. It's so overwhelming for people. I have people that come to me and they're like, I know you're into this stuff, this natural stuff. Tell me about it. And then you balance that with, for the last 10 years, I've worked in healthcare. I've worked in, Western medicine as an executive. And so I like to root everything we do in science. And so if I can't use it myself and see an impact, if I don't see some sort of peer-reviewed research on it, I'm like, okay, you have to convince me that this is real, because I'm not going to sell somebody junk. I'm not going to sell somebody something that's just a placebo. But I also recognize that one size does not fit all when it comes to wellness. And that's why I wanted to create the space, because there's so much junk out there in the wellness space that isn't real, and it is snake oil, and it's overwhelming for folks. And it's almost something that turns people off from it because they're like, well, everything is just snake oil and hokey, but it's not. I mean, there are hospital systems that are using red light therapy. There's hospital systems that are using Reiki. Sound therapy is something that they've used in other cultures for years, and they've even done studies recently to show that certain wavelengths of sound can like bust up tumors. They haven't really tried it in humans yet, but just the emerging research on it is really incredible. And so I take all of that research. I don't have a lot of spare time, but when I do, I'm always looking at, okay, what's out there, what's emerging, what studies have been
What's
done.
legitimate?
Yeah,
It's
what's
all over the
legitimate.
place.
Yeah. And that's when people come in and they'll be like, I have a salt lamp at home, and I'm the first one to say, great, that's wonderful. It's not salt therapy. It's not going to do anything. It's just really beautiful to look at. But I'm so glad that you're in the space. But let me tell you what real is, like what real salt therapy can do and how it can help you.
So are you still a C-suite executive?
I am. I'm still a chief people officer for a pretty large and very rapidly growing behavioral health company.
So do you find there's a different version of your executive self that shows up for your business that's different than the company?
So it's so incredible that you asked that question, because I have been spending a lot of time reflecting on who I am as my executive self as a chief people officer, and who I am as a CEO, and then who I am at home. And you both know, going into business with your spouse. And then I also, about 8 months ago, hired one of my best friends as my general manager because they needed more operational help. We had almost 14 employees now. It was so hard for me to not just be friend and wife at Salt Wellness. And then, I'm 20 minutes later turning into, C-suite executive in my other business. And what I recognized in myself was I actually have to be that same person in both places. And even though it's my husband and even though it's my friend, I still have to be a CEO in the business. And it's hard. That's a hard transition.
It's a good realization, though, because it's true. It really is true.
It's a journey that we've been on also. And I actually cried about it like 2 weeks ago of like, I don't know how to make a decision that you're not going to be okay with, because I would never want to piss off my husband.
Yeah. It took us all, I think, a long time to get there, because I think there for a minute we were all like, why can't we communicate at work, but we can go out and we can have a cocktail together and we're fine. But then we get to work and we're like, this is so dysfunctional. And we realize it's like, oh, because I'm trying to be the friend and the wife.
Friend into it also. That's like an extra little challenge there, because you're navigating two close relationships at the same time.
Yeah.
I find the technique I use is sort of like, if I'm going to have a conversation, a difficult conversation maybe, I think about what hat I'm wearing. Am I wearing my coach hat? Am I wearing my CEO hat? Am I wearing my, with my employees, sometimes I put my mom hat on. They're young, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to pretend you're mom for a minute, and we're going to talk about this. So yeah, I think it's, I want to be a wife at work, but when I say something about work, I want to say it from a CEO seat. And my husband's, he's great. We don't agree on a lot, but he'll say, I don't agree with you, but you're the CEO, so we're going to do it your way. I'm like, yes.
My partner is the same, but it's still difficult. And I love how you're saying, like, you were being different people and you had to bring them into one person. And we have this like cognitive dissonance when we're not stepping into like our full self, and when we are having to code switch all the time. And it's not, some amount of code switching is like just completely natural, but some amount of it is like you getting to be your full self. And I feel like there is almost like a relaxing moment of when those can all, when you can align them, right? And be the CEO executive self, and not have to be two different people.
Absolutely. I mean, there's an authenticity about it when you find that sweet spot of being able to be truly authentically you. And I think the aha moment for me was, I've had people follow me from company to company in my executive career because of my leadership style. And I had this reflective moment where, like, that's what gets people to follow me, is my authentic leadership style. and my realness in the way that I lead and coach and build and grow people. And I don't know why it hit me like, why wasn't I doing this it's my business. My name is on this business. This is my vision. I should treat it just like I do this other space. So we have our regular meetings as a leadership team, and I brought the team together. I said, all right, from now on, there's a line in the sand. I'm going to be different. You're going to see me be different because I'm no longer the friend that you've known for 20 years or the wife that you've known for 20 years. I am Tiffany, the CEO of Salt Wellness. And so I'm going to manage our meetings and our projects and our deadlines just like I would, in my other life. And we can still disagree, because if you don't have disagreements in business, you're not going to have progress, right? I want people to push back and disagree on me. And I always say that, but ultimately the decision is going to be made, and then we're going to drive forward towards that decision. And honestly, the conflict has been a lot less because now we all know our space and we all know our lanes and our roles, and we are all able to work within those a lot more comfortably.
Yeah, you clarified that vision, the goals and the deadlines, and that clarity can bring a lot less confusion and room for disruption. Now, you talked about how your CEO or your executive self got brought over into Salt Wellness. Have you seen your entrepreneurial self invade your corporate life?
What's funny is it always has, because the reason I've been drawn to high growth startup cultures is because I love the scrappiness of that life. I love that space in a company where you're going to make it or break it in this moment, in everything that you do, the passion that you have. I love working with founders and helping them get their vision across the finish. It is just, I don't know, that's one of the reasons why I'm still doing it and not just doing all Salt Wellness, because I love it. It's a passion of mine, and it definitely fills my cup, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You've had a really unique business experience because you did both a startup and an acquisition at the same time. Mm-hmm. If you were going to do one or the other again, if you were going to have a third location, would you choose an acquisition? Obviously, you would do due diligence, but would you choose an acquisition, or would you choose a brand new location?
Oh man, that's a tough one for me. There are pros and cons to both. There were a lot of positives to acquiring a business, a lot less initial upfront headache, but there were also a lot of things that you inherit through an acquisition, and no matter how good the due diligence, you're just not going to catch.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
100%.
Fully been there.
That is 100% true.
Yeah. We have both acquired things. And yes.
So I would say that I'm not opposed to acquisition, but I think anyone who's looking at an acquisition, just know no matter how many rocks you overturn, there's going to be something that you did not catch, and you just have to be able to let it roll off and figure it out. The positive about starting my own thing, we've had people ask us about expanding at some point, because we already have 2 locations. People already think we're a franchise. We're not. But I'm like, the positive about opening your own space is you have total control from the very beginning. And so there's a lot more initial cost on the front end, I think, well, depending on how much you acquire a business for, but there could be potential startup costs that you have to be prepared for. But you're doing it the way you want to do it, and your vision is absolutely right. So you don't have the challenge of unwinding someone else's vision and then implementing yours. But I think both have their merits.
Yeah. I've been in both directions, and I actually think I like the acquisition pathway maybe more than just having to create from scratch, because I think at my best in the people part and the problem solving. And it's not that I don't have big ideas or visions or products. I've had those for a long time. But for me, when I found acquisition entrepreneurship, it felt like the right thing for me. And it has been so far, compared to But I have to say, none of the other ideas that I had from scratch have seen their way through. So maybe I would like it both ways if I went all the
if you
way.
tried it.
Yeah, but I
It
think
might
it's
be
an interesting
different.
perspective that you got to do both. I like the security of having the revenue day one, but you're right. You cannot. No matter what you do, you are going to uncover something.
So before you became an entrepreneur, you were in the C-suite. That was kind of your whole, most of your career was that. What has been the big surprises about being a small business owner?
One thing I didn't expect, and I should have seen this coming, so I'm almost ashamed of myself doing this so long that I just didn't expect it. I didn't expect how much community education, like out in the community and like networking, impacted your business. You know, I thought going into this traditional marketing, social media, you know, I'll do an event here or there, but we see the real impact when we are out. We have this little mobile salt tent that we bought, and we take it out in the community, and it's our way of just showing people for free, like, this is what we do and this is the impact that it has. And I guess I don't know, going into it, I did not realize we would be weekend warriors, if you will, going around to all the local festivals and events, like putting people in salt tents and educating them. But it makes such an impact, and I also like it more than I thought I would. Like, I really enjoy doing that, and I'm like, even if we don't have to, I still want it to be part of our business model. And so I think that's the one thing I didn't see coming. You know, I thought I would just run it as a leader. And
Yeah, when you're in a big company, right? There's a brand.
Yeah.
There's a brand out there, and that's what people buy, and then all the marketing supports that. In small business, people buy from people.
yeah,
They want to buy. They meet you, or they meet someone on your team, and they're like, "I want that experience again." You know, they don't buy from salt caves. They're coming for that personal touch.
The community part. What has that been like for your kids? You mentioned earlier that you have two children. I don't know their ages. So what are they, and what has it been like to see mom and dad go from like traditional jobs to having a startup and then also weekend warrioring? Are your kids in the tent with you? What does that look like?
So we have, so I've got a 13-year-old daughter and a 10-year-old son, and they couldn't be more polar opposite personality wise. And what is so interesting to see, they've always seen my husband and I go into work or work really hard. And I've worked remote for a long time. And so they know I'm working. So that's not new. But what's new is they're coming along with us to the business. I think it's really important actually to teach them what we do and have them be a part of it. So yeah, we bring them to events. They know how to run the salt tent. They know what salt therapy is. They know what red light therapy is. My daughter can't wait for me to hire her, but I told her she's not going to work for me. I actually want her to work for someone else because I want her to learn what it's like to work for another boss. But it's changed their perspective on life. My daughter often talks about what she wants to do when she's older, in college and all of that, but she still loves entrepreneurship and is interested in business. My son, for career day last year, he wore one of our branded shirts and says, I'm going to run a wellness practice just like my parents. Like, it changed their perspective around what growing up looks like. And I think it's really an awesome thing to be able to show them that you can be bold and you can do something different, and you don't have to follow the rules, if you will. You can break the rules a little bit.
Yeah, they were old enough to remember the change.
Yeah.
They were old enough to remember the adjustment and going for it.
Yeah.
Our kids are watching. They're watching. Our kids came to work with us and sat in the corner and did their homework and all those things. So, I think it's a good experience.
I was dropping off Theo at school this morning, and he was talking about like, oh, you're going to the cool place downtown that you shoot in? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, that place is pretty cool. They've got the bean bags.
This is a story I've told many times. I'll keep it brief, but we had years ago, my older son, Jack, was only about 10 years old. We had our CEO from Sinorama come visit, and he and his wife stayed at our place. And so Derby morning, of course, we're all getting dressed up. Brian and I are getting dressed. And he comes out of the bedroom and he sees Jack and he says, "Where's your mom's iron?" And Jack looks at him and he goes, "She doesn't have an iron." And he goes, "She doesn't have an iron?" He says, "No." And he goes, "Well, what does she do?" And he goes, She works at Sinorama. She owns Sinorama. And the CEO was just like, I can't believe it. And he said, you really don't have an iron? I said, no, we don't have an iron. Because if there's an iron in the house, I end up ironing, and I hate ironing.
That's
So
hilarious.
I got rid of the iron. If Brian needs an iron, he can go next door and borrow the iron.
We have one. We use it very rarely, but I would say because it takes me longer to get ready than Brad, it would not be abnormal for me to ask him to iron my clothes while I'm still like curling my hair or something.
My husband Chad irons too. The iron is in his closet. So I'm like, if you want to iron, you can iron.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Next level.
We use it very rarely, but if there was a reason to, I'm not the only one who knows how to operate it.
Yeah.
Guys, for the men who listen, because we know that even though this is feminine leaning, that we have like 40% men that listen to this, you just make it flat. You just
Keep it moving.
You just keep it moving. Don't let it be still. Just make it flat. You got this, okay? If you can run a company, you can iron your clothes.
I bet there's a lot of men ironing these days.
I know there is.
Things have definitely
changed. I'm just
changed.
being a punk.
Things have definitely changed.
So what's next? You're 1 year in to your business ownership journey, and it's already seeing quite a bit of success. And I would say you're probably feeling like, and I would like to know if you agree, like you're accomplishing the goals you've set out. So tell me, what are the next goals for you? You're alive and running now. What are the next goals, vision for your company and for your bigger life, like company? And then like, do you want to own more businesses or more locations? Yeah.
I probably get asked that once a month, and I just start laughing because I'm like, if you buy a business and start a business all within 12 months, you start to not think about what is next.
You're just trying to survive.
It is survival of the fittest.
Your belly's full right now.
Yeah. But no, I mean, I would be lying if I said I hadn't thought about it, because I think it's just a natural thing. You're always thinking about what's next, especially if you've got an entrepreneurial spirit. First and foremost, I want to hit my goal of just educating as many people as possible around alternative solutions to their wellness. I think that what we do can be a great complement to Western medicine. And so I think it's a different way to look at things, and I just want to educate as many people. I'd love to expand some of the services and offerings that we have at both locations, but especially our Louisville Salt Cave that we bought, since it really just is the cave. I'd like to do more there for people because it's in such a great area that is easy to access, that more people could come around and find one space for their healing. I think beyond that, I have no intention right now of leaving my executive career behind. The company that I'm at still needs support for a long time, and so I plan to be there as long as they need me. But I know that one day I won't be there, and I think when that day comes, whenever that is, whether that's 2 years, 5 years, I don't know, but when that day comes, I think that's the day I've decided I'm going to sit down and decide, what do we do next? Because I do think there's more we can do, whether that's expand. The benefit of having 2 locations is we've already standardized processes and experiences. So to open another location would be a lot easier than it was the first time. So whether that's expand outside the city, whether that's start doing something where I can blend my 2 worlds together and start bringing executive coaching into the mix and like really blend that together. I don't know. I always like to say the sky's the limit, and I'll know when it's time, and then that will be the time, and I will do it.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah,
I get that. And especially since you're 1 year in, this is an entrepreneurial audience. And so I think it's helpful when we give like really specific goals or numbers. So only what you're comfortable with, but like, what are I call them rocks, but what are your goals for this year or next year if this year is too short of a time frame?
Yeah. Well, I'll say we got the Salt Cave up, running, and profitable very quickly. The new location is yet to make a profit, which is incredibly normal when you start a business. I didn't expect to make a profit for at least 18 to 24 months. I think that's good advice for everyone going in, because it gets really hard sometimes when you see, oh wait, I'm still not getting where I need to be, but you will. My number one goal, my big rock, is to get that second location profitable. We are growing month over month. We're getting really close to the space where we're at least breaking even, which is wonderful. That's number one, first and foremost, biggest priority, get that profitable. And I think once we get that, the next rock is going to be looking at how can we grow and expand what we have, our revenue. I'm going to talk real business for a second.
No, that's what we want.
Yeah, it's like, how do we expand our revenue? I mean, we're a healing space, so it's sometimes uncomfortable for people in the healing space to talk about revenue, but we're a business at the end of the day. And so ultimately it's going to be about how can we set revenue targets? How can we grow those revenue targets? What are the things that we have to do to impact them outside of where we are? We've got a great customer base, so we have to look at, okay, what are the things that the customers aren't getting? You grow revenue by solving problems for your clients. What are the problems we're not solving? And then how do we invest in those problems so we can solve them and then grow the business even more?
Yeah, I love the idea of executive wellness, like executive wellness retreats. I mean, that's like your sweet spot.
Can we run one with Renegade? Can we do like a little...
Let's do a mini one right now.
So I want to like kind of rapid fire a couple of questions that are not the fun ones at the end, but if
The
you're willing,
unfun ones, you're going to give it the unfun ones?
I mean, I wanted you offered us up some like really good things about your business. And so I've, quickly, did you take out a small business loan or take any investors?
So I thought about it, but I didn't. And it was a very intentional move. We looked at all of our options. I've worked in venture capital backed companies for a long time, and I know that the investor usually has a say, and I wanted this to be my baby. And so not everyone has that luxury. I have lived a pretty frugal life, even though I've had an executive, so I was afforded the opportunity to do it. I don't regret it, and I'm glad I did it. I am not going to lie. There are times when I'm like, ooh, that's a really cool thing. Maybe we should go get a small business loan and do it. And my husband's like, no, you said no debt.
Yeah.
So he's my CFO. He reminds me.
Give us a quick glimpse into how it has been in your relationship with your husband and how this has changed that relationship.
Oh man, it has not been the easiest, I'll tell you.
Honesty.
Understatement.
Real talk. He is an incredible partner. And one thing that has been great about us, I mean, we've been together for, I think 19 years that we've known each other. And we've always just had a promise to each other to be really honest. And sometimes that can be kind of scary to think about, but like it works for us. And that honesty is what's getting us through, because when it's not working, we have no problem saying this is not working. We got to find another way. Right. And that's where setting very, very clear, big, giant, bold boundaries around, I'll give this credit. He's going to be, he might be embarrassed, but last night he started talking business. I said, no, it's 9:30. I am down for the night. We will talk about it tomorrow. Let's walk through in the morning. And he's cool with it. I mean, he's like, great, you're right. You said, at this time.
Oh, that's absolutely happened to us too.
Yeah.
Yeah. One time, Brad, your husband has the luxury of not being in the room. Mine's right there. But we were laying our heads on a pillow and his brain was still going, and he started, and I was like, I'm gonna have to stop you right there. Like, I have no capacity for this, like instant anxiety attack, just having the conversation. And it happens, right? I have done it to him, right?
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
It works both ways.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that it happened
You're
the
laying
other
your
day.
head down and all of a sudden you go, whatever happened with that? Yeah. Did you ever do that thing you said you were going to do?
I think it was like late at night one night. We had been asleep for like an hour or something, and I said something. He's like, no business talk. Like, it's bedtime. I'm like, I know.
Stop it. Yeah. What is your favorite failure?
I spent way too much on some marketing things that I didn't need to spend my money on. And I've very much learned my lesson that they were just sort of like throwing my money on fire in a dumpster.
Yeah.
One belief about business you've had to completely release.
I think, honestly, it was the learning how to be friends and a wife and an executive and blend that into one. I thought that I could just be all those things and not an executive, and I couldn't, and I learned that.
And last one, dream collaboration or partner.
The executive wellness retreat, there are places that do it around the country, not super locally. I, number one, would love to do that myself, but number two, find a place to partner to do it, because I think blending my two worlds together is just fun.
I need some wellness.
Yes, we all need some every once in a while.
Well, thank you so much. This has been great, and it makes me very salt curious.
Well, thank you so much for spending your time here talking about your business journey and how you're balancing the many facets and how bringing them into alignment is working for you. If someone wants to find you or your business, where would they go?
saltwellnessky.com, and it has both locations listed on there.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, it's been great.
Absolutely.